Everyone knows me, and this is Sean, my partner in Property Portfolio Solutions. And we're here today to talk to you a bit about your New Year's resolutions and how we might be able to help with them. So, as an accountant, I find as I'm going along that doing lots of tax returns for people with property in them and what have you, or people who want to get into property, that a lot of people ask the question, well, what property should I be into? So what we're going to do today is talk more about the question of the journey. So can you help me in my journey to find your goals with property? So if I can do that, or Sean and I can do that for you, I think we would go a long way into understanding where you're coming from so that we can then go a bit forward with you. So for those who hang around, I've got a few giveaways at the end. They're not spectacular, but they're certainly giveaways.
Well, they could be. They could be spectacular.
They could be spectacular, absolutely
if
spectacular.
you take advantage of them. Does that sound cheesy and salesman-y enough? If it did, just go thumbs up for cheesy and salesman-y.
Yeah, no worries. Good, thanks for that. So disclaimers, at the end of the day, we're going to give you some, not basic information, but information that should prompt you to think. None of the stuff we're going to do, we're certainly not going to throw a property at you or anything like that. We're not going to try and sell you anything today. We're just going to start talking about what we like to think about as your why. Why you want to be where you want to go. Not why you want to be in property so much, but why you want to be where you want to go. So today is about you, the people who want to invest in property because they know that property is probably the best way to get to their wealth goals as they go through the future. Would that be right?
That'd be right.
That'd be right. So what are you going to get out today? We're going to turn those people's New Year's resolutions that know they should be in property but might not be able to get to where they want to be in that time. We're going to talk about the importance of knowing your why, which is a big thing when it comes to us, and how your why helps the decisions that you make so that you're not just aiming to get into property, you're aiming to look to see the property that you would like to do. When we talk about this sort of thing, this is Sean's very much into headspace and things like that. So I'm going to let him run from there. I'm going to talk about your why as we see it, because if we don't know what your why is all about, we can't help you obtain your goals, can we?
That's right. So I'm Sean Davison. I've known Jeff for many years. Like some of you guys, he may have been your accountant, he was mine. We sort of, many years ago when I had another company that used to find property for the guys who were selling stock, we used to create really cool stock, and Jeff saw what we were doing and he said one day we should work together. So here we are many years later and working together. So in that time, because I was from behind the scenes, I could see how all these companies worked. And I saw the ones that were good, ones that were bad, the ones that had good intentions and ones that had bad intentions. The whole thing. I saw the whole gamut because I had something like 1,000 different companies on my database, and I was the one going out and chatting with them and trying to help them grow their businesses. So in that, I got to learn different ways that to help people get to their goals. So because I did a lot, like Jeff sort of alluded to, I've done a lot of headspace sort of work for myself, and I've helped a lot of people along the way. But I've always found with myself, if I can picture what it is I want, which I call, or Jeff and I call, your why, it's really easy. It becomes a lot easier to achieve your goals. It's like when you really, really want something, you don't struggle to get out of bed to do it. It's if you play sport and you love playing sport, you go out and you have fun and you have a laugh, you probably put more effort into your sport than you probably would your day-to-day working life. But the fact of the matter is you find it fun, you look forward to it, so therefore it's easy to do, it's easy to train for. So when I talk about your why, it's your dream, it's where you want to be. And when we focus on the why, when we have that conversation, the last thing we want to do is think of how to do it, what it's going to cost. The only thing you need to know or even think about is the why. Is it mine? Or, you know, if like I've had clients before that I've spoken to who don't want the Ferraris and the flash houses and the flash cars. One lady just wanted to create time for herself so she could do some do some work with charity. She didn't want to give money to charity. She wanted to give time. So for her why is to give back, and then she wanted to own her own home, nothing too flash. But then I've got other clients who want the big flash home on the site, next to the water, boats, cars, all that stuff with a big passive income. But to some people that just wouldn't be comfortable. Some people are happy camping, other people are happy living in resorts. So it's got to be really bespoke or really sensitive to yourself. So it's no use you hearing someone else's or my why or Jeff's why or anyone else's why. It's your vision. So that why is your vision. And if you can visualize that and you can close your eyes and you feel yourself living that life as if you were sitting in a comfy couch. It's like sitting in that couch just supports you and it just feels amazing. That's when you know you really picked the vision of the future that suits you. And it's a really cool exercise for couples to do, because you'll find that there's going to be differences, right? But there's going to be all these similarities that are going to come together, which just creates an awesome conversation. So everyone's going to have their differences, and that's cool, but it doesn't mean you can't have the hubby have his motorbike and the missus have the ski boat, or whatever it is to everybody. Do you know what I mean? So, but when you come together, it's usually what you find important with each other to come together. So how you want to live your retirement, how you see yourself in 10 years, 20 years, 5 years, whatever it is. So that why is a vision. It's just a vision of where you want to be. So once we create that, and that's probably about a half an hour conversation, could sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, that vision has a price tag, and that price tag becomes the goal. So if at the end of retirement, when you start going into retirement, you want to probably own your own house, have a passive income, go on holidays, all that sort of stuff. And that's the sort of thing where you go, okay, I need this much cash so I can buy my house, buy this, buy that. And I need this much passive income to continue my lifestyle the way I want it to be. So then you got your why, which is a vision, got nothing to do with money, got nothing to do with how to do it or anything like that. Then you've got a goal, that's all to do with the money. That's a figure, 2 figures. One's an equity bucket, one's a cash flow. So then you've got cash flow and how much money you're going to need for retirement. Top one's vision, second one's money, and then down the bottom is the positional awareness. So the reason why that's important, if you're trying to plot a course to anywhere, doesn't matter where you're going. Boaties are really cool to talk to about this because they can understand it, or people who do lots of trekking. Because if you've got a destination, you don't know where the first turn is, whether it be right or left, unless you know where you're at. So the reason why we start with the vision is because we've got to know where to go. And then we need to know where you're at so we can plot a course to your goal. So what we do is we've got the two, I call them buckets, of one's equity, one's cash flow. So the cash flow bucket's what you bring in every year, every month, every week. And the equity bucket is how much is if you sold everything right now, what would be left? It's an amount, it's a figure. So how much equity you've got in property, share, investments, it could be anything. You could have $1 million painting, who knows? But these two buckets are important to know because we need to, before we can move too much further forward, or to know what the next first step is we need to balance those out, because everyone thinks cash flow is really cool, and it is, it most certainly is. But without equity, you can get stifled when you go to a bank to borrow money. And equity is really cool, but unless you've got cash flow, a bank won't lend you money because you've got no way of supporting the loan that they give you. So the reason why we balance that up is so we can get to the next property, the next property, the next property, until we realise your goal so you can live your why.
We certainly don't go throwing all your eggs into one basket. So if we've got a number up there and the number's $5 million, there's no point going and borrowing $4.9 million if you can't support it, and most people can't. So it tends to be a journey of different steps, and building them with different types of properties, doesn't put all your eggs in one basket, it spreads the risk around, but it also enables you to do the extra bits with the bank by ensuring that you've got the right thing at the right time when it comes time to do the next step.
So that first screen you can see there, where we go from equity, cash flow, work all that out. We get you to talk with a broker. We've got really good brokers that work with us, or your own broker, to work which the first next step is. We work with the people around us, all the experts that either you have or we have, to make the decisions that are accurate. So we sort of manage the whole process through to the next property. You probably noticed I'm not a salesman, so I'm a property guy. I love property. My background, I was a cabinet maker by trade. I've developed property all my life. I've done subdivisions. I've done all sorts of stuff. So I'm a property guy. So putting all this stuff together is just a way of working out the first next best step. So what's next, Jeff?
What's next? So we talked about this a bit with the buckets and what have you. You can have two properties sitting effectively side by side, and one could have, because it's in a really great location, could be going up more than the inflation rate, and the other one could be just something that's in an area where, like something like a Defence Force Housing Authority property, it's getting 9, 10, 11% return, but no growth. When you're looking at a journey, it's about making the steps fit the journey as opposed to just buying for buying's sake. So you would say?
What Jeff was saying, it's really important that a lot of people have this idea of we've been sold into that whole adage of location, which in a way is true, but it has to be a location and a type of property that suits you and your journey more than it's a flash address that's going to go up in value, but it may have really bad rental yield, which means you're going to keep pumping money into it. So it's all about the balance, and that's why we look into different properties, and that's why Jeff and I, we don't have a stock list of property. We talk to clients, we find out what their needs are, and then we go from there, and that's my job. I go out and find some good stuff. So as you can see by the next slide, that's pretty much just a flash example of after we've got the today is when we work out your positional awareness, and then you got your goal, and success is living your why. Success in investing for me is more about lifestyle and living your why rather than a bundle of money, because at the end of the day, I don't think a bundle of money makes anyone happy. It just is it's there to create a lifestyle that makes you happy, if that makes sense. It's not the money that makes you happy, it's what it brings you that brings you joy. So as long as you've got that why sorted out, it's a really good way to give you a direction to go. And without that, to me, you're just throwing darts in the dark.
Now, if you thought we were going to bore you for an hour or so, you're quite wrong, because now we're going to start with the question. I noticed Robin stuck her hand up earlier. Robin, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please, or have we answered it?
No, I was only testing, stick my hand up. But I do have a question. Whereabouts, where is the best place for property to purchase? Whereabouts would you recommend looking?
Well, it depends on your situation, Robin. It's again, like I said, location depends on what your next first step needs to be for your journey. So I've got clients all over the place, that I put clients in all over the joint, but it really depends on what the property will do for them. So the next best place, the next property, the one you look for, is the one that suits you. So everyone's different. Yeah,
and we have a look at the metrics in any particular place. We did a thing. If anybody's seen the video I did we made a lady $240,000 recently. We were talking about Port Macquarie there. The metrics in Port Macquarie, you've got an ageing population, you've got a new base hospital, you've got an airport that's just grown, and they've just thrown a university in it, and it's only 4.5 hours out of Sydney. Given the COVID and the move into the tree change or the sea change mentality, Port Macquarie has really good metrics, as does Southeast Queensland, as does Queanbeyan, and unfortunately as does a place called Goulburn. But we wouldn't put people in it. We don't think that the metrics are right in Goulburn for long-term success. Do we play in Sydney? Absolutely. Would we want to? Probably not, because the numbers are too high in order to be able to make the things that we want to be able to do at the level that we want to do them. We want to be able to do investment for everybody as we're going along. Do we do buy an existing property and knock it down and rebuild it if that suits your want? Absolutely. Do we also look at a property that we would buy and then stick a granny flat on if that suits your why? Then absolutely. There's some good equity and good income to be made in all sorts of property. But like Sean said, we don't have a stock. If someone comes to us and says, look, we're really happy with what you guys are talking about, how about you find me something like this, and we'll go and find something or 3 or properties of that sort of nature and come up with a plan to say, well, hang on, this one suits you, this one comes to this part of your why, this one comes to this part of your journey, we think you should use this one, but here's 3 of them anyway. And have a look at the real plan going forward, and then slot properties in as it comes time to move the next journey. And we got several clients of ours just keep coming back for more. They do one, they make a lot of money, they either hold on to it, which is what we would think they should be, because it's going to be easier to refinance rather than pay the tax on a realised profit, and then move on to the next one. But the lady up at Port Macquarie, she made 240, and she sold the properties and moved on because she wanted to move into a bigger one. But that was her why, not anyone else's why. We're doing one at Morisset at the moment, aren't we? Which is a different sort of why altogether. But that one's got the right metrics. It's not far from the railway station. It's an area that is growing. We love also Newcastle. We're looking at some properties up there. But it's a matter of what you as the investor want. I could go and buy a big property at Avoca Beach and renovate it and turn it into a retreat, couldn't I? If that's my why, that's what I could be doing. I'm supposed to be getting a giggle out of someone, and I'm not getting a giggle out of somebody. It's all right. It's interesting. But before I go on, is any more questions? We're ready for more questions. Anyone want to knock themselves off mute, introduce themselves, because we can only see 10 of you at the moment, and there's 25 more sitting on the sidelines. Does anyone wish to ask a question? You need to mute yourself first. The Birches, I'm sure the Birches have questions.
No.
What about you, Jason? You were red hot to get into this evening. Unmute yourself first. Ian McTighe, ask away.
Hello, boys. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good, thanks,
Good,
mate.
Ian, yourself?
Yeah, really, really good. Just, Jeff, I mean, my history, I've always had a bit of a fascination with commercial. You got your mate Roger Dodger, who's very good in the commercial sector. When you look at commercial, do you look at also, and it's extending the sort of arm to look at pre-lease agreements?
When it comes to commercial, it's a different sort of dog altogether.
Yeah.
Commercial in a vibrant economy, a brilliant investment. Commercial for a business that you're running underlying it, absolutely. You can play around with your super fund, all that sort of thing. But commercial for us doesn't necessarily fit the bill today. I wouldn't be playing with commercial just at the moment. Yes, they're high returns, but usually no growth. Having said that, I've seen some commercial ones that have done really well. It's a bit of a hit and miss sort of thing. It's a hard question to answer. I think, Ian, I'd rather take that one offline if I could, and talk to you tomorrow about it.
Yep.
Do you want to unscreen share so we can just use this?
Unscreen share, I can do that. Stop sharing for the moment.
So which camera were you on?
Yours for the moment.
Awesome. So can you guys see us now?
Anyone else got any questions? I'm sure you've got lots of questions. Anyone who's been trying to get into property but doesn't know where to start. There's got to be plenty of us out there like that. Young Mr. Priest, I saw you there earlier. Julian,
Thanks.
fire away. What question, mate?
How practical is this for a young, just starting a family group of people?
It depends on what sort of resources you've got. If you've got, as you have...
Do you want me to answer this one, Julian, being that it could be a little bit sensitive, being that's your dad?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm happy either way. You're both professionals.
Mate, like your dad's saying, it depends where your situation sits in the way of your positional awareness of where you're at. I personally don't like putting people into something that's going to impinge too much on their lifestyle. So it's not like, I don't like telling people, okay, come and buy this thing, it's only going to cost you $500 a week. That's not how I work. So it's up to each individual. Some young people just starting a family are on really good incomes and have some equity. Others are a little bit tighter in the purse strings, and it's again, like everything, it's up to the individual. Jump in. So
No, that's exactly right. I could give away the farm because I actually know what's going on, but it depends on how many rainy days might be between here and when you might want to access some money. That's one very big thing in any journey. Is there going to be any left turns that are going to throw stones at you as you're going along? If you've got equity and you've got cash flow, absolutely. If something goes wrong, someone loses a job or what have you, then hopefully you should be able to sell what you've got if you have to. Not that we would like to, but we try and make sure that we have cash flow positive properties.
Or at least neutral.
At least neutral, so that there is no impact on the hip pocket should something go wrong. So it's an interesting question. Should it be for young people who are at the start of their investment journey?
Yes.
Absolutely, because you can create equity really quickly, as long as we're not going to overcommit you. That's the big thing. Overcommitment's a really dangerous thing.
The other thing is what Jeff's has sort of brought up is we've all looked at property and we've all been around it, whether we've owned it or just seen it in the areas and where you live, and you look around and like my first house was $85,000. That just doesn't exist anymore, and the reason for that is because property grows. So just imagine if you bought a whole lot of property when you're 20, if you could. But I was doing different things when I was 20. I was probably drinking too much and playing with cars. But if I bought and kept a whole lot of property along the way, then it's better off. But a lot of people, what we're finding is a lot of our clients come to us when they're 50s. A couple of late 40s, but 50s and 60s going, oh shit, I've got to retire soon. What will I do? And
time's the big constant that everybody gets killed by.
It's the simple fact of the matter is the sooner you invest, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's a good, safe investment, the sooner you invest, the better, because you get capitalised growth. And the accountant's probably better at explaining that to me, but to me it's pretty simple. You make a little bit of money this year on a percentage, then the following year after that you make money on the property plus the growth you already got the previous year.
He's trying to explain compound interest.
Compound interest, that's it, compound interest.
But not just that, some of the developments that we're able to get into at the moment can actually build equity, create equity just in the purchase. So if you buy a block of land and put a duplex on a block, the sum of those two bits will be way more than the cost that it actually did to put the thing together. The $240,000 gain the lady made, she paid $200,000 for the block, put in $600,000.
It ended up the whole package was $720 at the time. You can't buy that anymore in Port Macquarie because it's gone up too much. But it was $720, and she sold each side for $485, $95, whatever it was, yeah. And each side, because you're doing a mini subdivision. Now, I've got to do a caveat on that. I've got a air of caution. I picked up a couple of blocks off a guy who bought a couple of blocks to do what we do, but he doesn't have the experience or the connection to do what we do. And he had these 2 blocks of land for 2 years, running all around town, trying to get builders to build what he wants, but he couldn't make it work for a profit. The builders that I use, I get a discount simply for my clients. That is, I get a discount for the clients because I might do 20, 30, 40 builds with them a year. So I get a wholesale rate and I deal with the clients so they don't have to worry about marketing fees and all that sort of jargon to add into the build. So therefore it saves them money. But this guy couldn't work out a profit on the very same blocks of land that I got clients into that are going to get about $200,000 per block. So just that's the air of caution I've got to say, because people hear these things and they see them and they advertise, and then they go out and try and do that themselves, and then have the conversation about, oh no, it doesn't work.
So tell people what we actually did for that lady. We in holding hands as we're going along.
Oh, okay. She came to us. I've dealt with this client for many years. She's a lovely lady, and she just comes along, says to me, Sean, I want to get some more money, and I've gone, okay, cool. She had a bit of money laying around, so I put together a package on a block of land in Port Macquarie. Got my builder to put a plan together, put it on the block, and she bought the block, did the build, the whole thing. Whole thing was a bit over 12 months.
Yeah, but hang on, she didn't do it. We did all the work.
We did it.
Yeah, we did all the work for her.
We did everything.
Yeah, so it's the hand holding that's hopefully the point of differentiation that we try and do for our clients, taking them all from, I've got some money or I've got some equity in a property. What can you do for us? Well, come up with a plan, yes, and then actually help you execute the plan.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there and try and do the education thing to teach people, but at the end of the day, I've been in property all my life, the same as some of you guys someone might be a doctor all their life, someone might be a dentist all their life, or might be a mechanic all their life. I don't work on my car because I'm a property guy, right? I go to a mechanic. If I got a sore tooth, I go to a dentist. And I don't want to go on YouTube to work out how to fill my own teeth. It doesn't work that way. For me, I just find it better if I help people along. Anyone who wants to have a crack themselves, more power to you and good luck. And there are people who do really well by doing it themselves. They just spend a lot of time learning what needs to be done to get the job done. So I find sometimes it's just easier to deal with people who know what they're doing, and hopefully Jeff and I know what we're doing well here.
Who knows? But at the end of the day, a lot of people stand on the precipice of getting into property investment and just can't. There are too many of those Rumsfelds, the unknown unknowns, that stop people getting into the next property or stop people getting into the property market at all. Now, I've done a lot of speaking on stage for the likes of Dominic Grabisa and Cherie Barber and people like that. And you know that if there's 1,000 people at those seminars, less than 10% will actually do a property deal. They're crazy numbers. So there are 900 of those 1,000 people, having spent their money to go to the seminar, actually never actually get into property. What we're aiming to do is, if anybody's like that, we're more than happy to hold the hand. If you're already in property and are too busy doing your own type stuff, we can do that for you as well. It's just easy. Anyone else with a question while we're sitting here? I've noticed that a few other people have joined in. No hand raising and what have you? Or do they want to all wait for the giveaways at the end? They might be disappointed. Sorry, who's Lisa? Hi, Lisa.
Hey. I'm just trying to work out what you're actually proposing. Is that if we're wanting to buy property or look for property, that you can search for us or give advice, or actually what do you mean by hand holding?
Whatever it means to you. If you come to me and say, look, I've got X amount of money ready to do the next investment. First thing we want to do is sit down and talk and find out where you're up to in your property thing. Yours would be way different to, say, Ian's, who was on earlier, and you might be looking for something in an income area rather than an equity area, or you might be just saying, well, hang on, I actually don't need an income at the moment. I've got plenty of income. I want to build some equity and do something in that area. Then yes, we'll go out and find the appropriate site for you and say, here, we think this fits your profile. We think this fits your journey. If you want to go ahead with that, then we'll get you to the broker to make sure that you've got the wherewithal to be able to do it. And then yes, we'll hold your hand all the way to giving you the key when the tenant wants to move in.
Here's the rude question.
Yep.
So what's in it for you, as they say, as my son would say?
That's an excellent question. We actually get paid by the builders that we use. We were going to charge a $5,000 fee to sit down and have our why meeting, and then we're going to use that $5,000, give it back to you as part of your deposit. But we thought better of it, although the traction will be better if they've actually put some skin in the game. Sean and I don't work that way. Sean and I are empaths, who like to just see people go along. Don't worry. Yes, well, Sean was saying that the builders give us a wholesale rate, but there's a little bit in there for us, so we get to live and eat the next day.
So it's free for you guys.
Yep, free for you guys, unless you want us to do a major development and
No, it's different.
and that's a different conversation.
Sounds great. Sounds good.
Okay, but
Yeah.
that's hey,
Like a travel agent.
we don't mind questions at all. Okay,
Yep, thanks.
and especially those ones. We want to know, we want everything to be as transparent as possible, so everyone knows exactly where they are in the pipeline and where things are going and all that going from there.
So if we want to get in touch with you, we just contact you through your property investment specialist website. And
Yeah. Well, no, you should all have my direct email now because I sent you all your emails inviting you tonight.
Okay,
So
we'll use that one. Okay.
Jeff at propertyportfoliosolutions.com.au or Sean
All right.
at propertyportfoliosolutions.com.au.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent question, Lisa. Anyone else with a question before I put this back on?
If you wake up in the morning with a bunch of questions, please get in contact with us. Doesn't mean you commit to anything. It's just a matter of I'm happy to answer whatever. I love answering questions, but if you hold on to the question and don't get it answered, sometimes it just creates doubt in your mind. So
Rota had a question, Sean.
Rota, where's Rota?
Right here.
Fire away, Rhoda. How you going, mate? Long time no see.
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you very much. My problem is I've got equity in my property, but I'm at a certain age that it's very hard to take it out.
There's always more than one way to skin a cat, Rhoda.
I took some equity out 5 years ago and invested, and I've checked the property value at the moment, there's more equity, and I want to take it out again.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was hit with COVID, I'm really unable to service the loan as what they're saying. So, do I have any other options?
Absolutely. A lot of people think that if I don't satisfy the retail lender's criteria, that I have no potential to get into a deal. There are plenty of other types of finance people around who will do equity-only loans, but their interest rates are much higher. And we just need to then make sure that the interest rate still leaves enough fat in it for you guys to win.
Thank you.
Hey, Rhoda, just a quick one, mate. Just the other thing is to make sure when you're pulling money out of an investment that you're doing it to invest. A lot of people find that there's a little bit of fat in their investment, and they like to pull it out to go buy a jet ski, buy a new car, all that sort of jargon. But sometimes let's be cautious on what the money's going to be used for, and because like Jeff said, you might go out and end up in a loan, depending on your situation, that costs you more money, and that's higher rates. But everyone's in a different situation, and we're more than happy to have a conversation. The first step for us, we've got an amazing broker who's got so many lenders at his feet, and he's very smart with the way he can manage things. That he does all the right stuff, doesn't do anything dodgy, but he just knows who to go to, when and how. So if you want, mate, just send Jeff or myself some information in the way of, just request for us to call you back. We'll have a chat and we'll give you an intro to Gary. He's an absolute champion.
Yeah, it's to invest.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell my daughter for the long run. This is what the equity is for.
Good.
Thank you very much.
No problem at all, and we look forward to talking to you, Rhoda, more about that. That would be an interesting one for us.
Likewise, yeah.
So on the screen now we've got the giveaway. We've got a little ebook called Options in Property Income, which we wrote. And of course, if anybody wants to sit down and talk to us, we're more than happy to put that down. Like I said, we were going to start charging $5,000 for that, but we decided not to. All you need to do is drop me a line at our general email address, which is info@propertyportfoliosolutions, or to either mine or Sean's, and I'll make sure that you get your copy of the book. It talks about the different types of dwellings between house and granny flats versus dulux. It talks about single type occupancy. It talks about all sorts of things, just to get people an idea of what sort of income levels we can arrange inside a property investment. So yeah, our phone number's there. The lovely Pearl who's on. You unmute yourself for a minute, Pearl, and say hello.
Hello,
There you
guys.
go, Pearl.
So say hello to everyone, Pearl.
Yes, hi. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pearl. I'm the one in charge. I'm in charge of all things administration. Work with Jeff and Sean for a year now, and I always believe in them. They are my mentors.
We better shut her up now before it gets too thick. Thanks, Pearl. But if you ring our 1300 number, yes, you'll be talking to Pearl, and she should be able to put you straight through to us, either to our mobiles or to a phone that will get to us. And if we're busy, yeah, we'll ring you back, and we'll ring you back within the same day. That sort of thing is what we try and do. We want to, being empathetic is one of our core ideals. So making sure that we're in tune with your needs and making sure that you're happy with what we're able to talk to you about. At the end of the day, like I said, it's not going to cost you anything to talk to us. You will not be pressured into anything until you want to move ahead. Ian's just raised his hand again.
Boys and girls, the radius of your builders, how far they go or what areas they work within.
This is another good question. Ian, where do you want to build? Yeah, that's a rhetorical question. We've probably got a builder
You've silenced me.
Yeah, where do you want to build? See, until we know the answer to that why question, the how comes later on. Anywhere up the east coast, all the way to Melbourne through the Sunshine Coast. We've got builders all through there. Would we be looking at Adelaide and Perth? Maybe not at the moment.
In Smith Lake, Macquarie, sort of, 0 to 200k radius, but I didn't realise it was far.
Oh no, we got builders all over the east coast.
Yep.
And again, until you can answer the where do we want to build, the answer is which builder do we want? Well, then we get the right builder for the right build.
Gotcha.
So, if we're thinking about buying a block of land and doing a duplex on it, the builder does the DA. So you don't have to worry about getting DAs done and all that sort of stuff. It's all done within the price that we get, and we get a fixed price to get the thing to turnkey. Okay, so to actually have the rent about to start.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're in a position where, like Rota, we want to perhaps capitalise the interest so that we've got no outgoings while we've got no income, we can work on that. If we're happy to contribute to the mortgage as we're going along while the construction period's on, we can do that as well. Now, some people because they've got an income stream, that they like to keep their debt down at the end, so they like contributing as they're going along. Other people just like, bang, we're going to do this. This is how much we're going to borrow. It's going to do the construction price, it's going to do the land price, and it's going to capitalise the interest, so that when they've got a rental income coming in, away they go. It's interesting when we talk about places like Port Macquarie, the rental vacancy rate in Port Macquarie is 0.3%. They can't find properties to rent in Port Macquarie at the moment, and they're building them hand over fist. That Sovereign Hills estate sells before they open it. And then you find these would-be developers that have got no idea what they're doing, end up trying to sell their blocks of land. And if we're available there, we can pick one up. But Morisset was another interesting one. We've got one that's happening there. We've got another one happening in southeast Queensland. A couple in Ballina, haven't we?
We got a few. We got them all over the place. But just
these are clients who have already been through the whole process. And
depends what the individual needs. Depends what you guys need. Will depend on where your comfort zone's at and where we're at. We don't like. I don't do pressure sales. I don't like people doing what they're not comfortable to do. I just like to have a conversation and find a plan to get people to where they need to be. Just solve problems. So I like to think of myself as a solutions man.
Yeah,
kinda.
Exactly right. We keep throwing bits of paper in the air until they come down the way we want them.
But anyway, it must be boring you guys by now.
Is there any last questions before we wrap this thing up, or? No, I don't see any hands coming up.
Well, thank you for your time, guys. That was pretty cool. I hope you guys got something out of it. And look forward to chatting with hopefully all of you, if not some of you, in the next little time, couple of weeks, I suppose.
What we're going to do is we're going to have one of these once a month, and next month I'm talking to a lady who deals in bad credit. So if anybody has any problem, that Victoria Costa from Australian Credit Fixers, or what I think that's what they call themselves. She does all sorts of things. The magazine will be out early in March. It'll have an article from her, and hopefully I'll be able to get her in our next webinar. Sorry about the production today, guys. I got caught in the traffic. I gave myself 2 hours to get from Greenacre to Chatswood, and someone decided to run into one of the traffic light thingos and killed Lane Cove Road. I sat, if anybody knows Lane Cove Road, I sat alongside a Ride golf course for nearly an hour, did not move. Then four-wheel drived it over the median strip and cut it around. Sorry?
A long time no see.
Yeah, all good fun. All right, guys, well, we might wrap it up there. And for those who want a copy, I hope my recording things worked. I'll put that on the website. And we've also got a Facebook page, and we've actually got a Facebook group, a closed group we're starting to build. If anyone wishes to join that, that's another thing where we can be putting information where you can ask specific questions and get specific answers if you like. But the best way to get answers is drop me a line at jeff@propertyportfoliosolutions.com.au. Okay, guys, so no other questions, we might wrap it up. Thanks, everybody.